Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome to Social Value Matters 2020, our first ever online global conference. This year, Social Value International have been thrilled to work with Social Value Canada to bring you this incredible conference over 5 days. We hope that you've enjoyed both the Leadership Summits and the Practitioner Summits and have found them all interesting so far. Please note that the session today has been pre-recorded by the fantastic speakers that we have. You can enjoy watching this session, and below on the screen further down, there is a question box where you can ask questions. Please note that due to time differences, speakers will not always be able to answer your questions straight away, but please do check back because they will get back to you as soon as possible. Now, without further ado, we'll start today's session. I do hope you enjoyed the session and hope to see you soon at another one of our sessions. Thank you.
Namaste, kia ora. My name is Neha Lakhotia and I'm speaking to you from Auckland, New Zealand. There are decades where nothing happens, and then there are weeks where decades happen. Here we are 9 months into the pandemic, and it already feels like a lifetime, at least for me. With more than 33 million cases all across the world and close to 1 million deaths, this pandemic has caused unprecedented disruptions not only to our health systems across the world, but has also transformed the social, economic, and governance systems around the world. It has changed our daily lives, and it's also exposed the key vulnerabilities of our society. And let's be clear, this is going to have a lasting impact, not only on those who managed to survive this, but also on generations to come. What is even more daunting is that we do not know how long it's going to last. And it raises a fundamental question about our future. What is going to happen? What are we going to do? What kind of world do we want to live in? So what do we do actually? We have responded to and we are still responding to the crisis. We're recovering in some countries, but we also need to start focusing on the future, to rebuild it. I realize this is not easy when we do not know what the future will look like, but we need to start. In this respect, at least all of us are in this together, venturing into the unknown, not knowing what new factor is going to come into play, what new strategy we'll have to deploy, what is going to work, what is not going to work. And however challenging this is, and it's going to be further, it is the moment where we can collectively reflect on and reimagine our future. This current pandemic provides us an opportunity to rebuild a fair, equal, resilient, and inclusive society. This session today is not about providing solutions on how to rebuild it, but I would definitely like to touch base on some key elements I am terming as the 7 Ps to stimulate our thinking, to incorporate when we think about rebuilding our future. The first P, and what I would say the most important, is purpose. Now more than ever, it is so essential to have a sense of purpose in everything we do, right from policy making to businesses and activities at an individual, community, regional, national, international level. This also means to include a sense of purpose in how we measure things, on how we measure economic and business performance. And these all need to be value-driven. This may imply we need to transform how we operate, and this is just beginning to be seen. For example, we all are sitting in our own comforts in miles away and interacting through this platform in this conference. Now, saying what you want to create value for all your stakeholders is one thing, but doing it is another. And the most obvious step is to create mechanisms for these stakeholders to have a voice in your oversight and decision making. The importance of purpose and involvement of stakeholders has to be bottom up rather than top down, at least in these crises, so that we can respond and be inclusive of what is there and not just spend our money with the limited resources we have. The second P is planet. While we are dealing with one crisis, we should not lose sight of the looming climate crisis. The world is at a turning point in terms of climate map. The UN climate report states that by roughly 2030, our carbon emissions need to drop by almost half so that the world can avoid worst impacts of climate change. And by 2050, the net emissions need to drop to zero. Now, whether that means massive systems change which need to happen, this will all depend on the choices we make now, including how governments choose to spend money on our recovery period from COVID. For businesses, this may mean integrating sustainability, like we have been talking, and we are going to talk in this conference as well, by factoring into environmental, social, and governance aspects into investment analysis and decision. This also means adopting new business paradigms of shared economy and circular economy. For consumers like us, it means that we need to start balancing and understanding our roles for sustainable lifestyles. This brings us to the third P, profit. It's high time economic value needs to be brought into harmony with social value. While it is easy to account for financial accounting, now there is no excuse that we do not recognize the importance of social value and the need for it to guide our decision making. This means we need to measure our economic performance beyond GDP. And this is a great platform to further have this discussion. Our business performance, our economic performance should be measured by stakeholder value rather than shareholder value. It is time to say bye to economics which is value free, which mainly concerns resources which are allocated and distributed, and not seeing whether they create value or are efficient or are maximizing the stakeholder value. This crisis is an opportunity for us to rethink our economic systems, our economic path, which has come at a heavy cost of people and planet. It also means that we need to shift our paradigm of production and consumption, and also that we need to adopt to the motto of no more business as usual. If we set our purpose, we have set our value-based functioning, we are not going back to the ways we have done before. Businesses that will not only survive but thrive over the coming months and years will be those who have embraced the notion that there is no merit in profit without purpose. The fourth or the fifth P is people. A central dimension of building back better is the need for having a people-centered recovery and rebuild that focuses on well-being, which improves inclusiveness and reduces inequality. This means our policies need to be measured more than economic growth again. They need to have a well-being lens to include elements such as quality of housing, health to achieve this. And we have seen this from the response to COVID across different countries in the world. We know it's not impossible. So hey, let's carry on with that same motto and put people at center. The next P is policy. I am a huge fan of legislation. I believe to bring about system change and long-term sustainable change, there need to be shift in policy and power, which can favor cross-sectoral and cross-governmental approaches, and just not single siloed approaches. A shift in power, which is from bottom up, then top down, is important, where stakeholder voices can be heard, where policies are responsive and tailored to the context in which they are operating, and they are future looking. They can be seen to The next is practices. While we have spoken about people, profit, planet, purpose, and policy, what we do is very important because this is going to impact the stakeholders, the people, the planet, as well as our profits. Our practices need to be transparent. They need to be responsive. They can't be short-term goals or short-term activities, but they need to have a long-term strategy. More than ever, we have seen that periods of disruption and crisis bring to light new problems. And we have seen during this lockdown and the last 9 months that innovative and new businesses have been created during these challenging times. We need to provide platform to these innovative ideas. Sometimes that doesn't mean we need to reinvent the wheel. It means sharing what is working in one place to another, adapting it, and then innovating it further to respond to the needs and context of that given area. Another theme which is very important is partnerships. In this global crisis, we have seen that it is through partnerships that we can move forward. May it be vaccines or may it be learning from the responses of different countries. To rebuild a better future, we need to have much solid partnerships, not only between governments and between countries, but also within countries intersectoral. We need to have an integrated approach so that we can respond more effectively and efficiently within the limit of our resources. Last but not the least, the most key important for this topic is performance. The way we measure performance needs to change. It needs to be integrated and driven by our purpose and practice. It needs to be able to measure the impact in true sense on the social, economic, and environmental aspects of well-being of the people. This is where we integrate impact measures, social value, invest into outcomes. This may also mean changing funding models or the way we deliver services. But performance is key so that it not only shows what has been done, but also helps us improve, improvise, and manage our activities and impact better. In fact, maximize them better. To rebuild a better future, to rebuild and recover and refine what comes forth for us from here point onwards, it's important we understand and revisit these 7 P's: profit, people, planet, partnerships, performance, practice, and purpose. I may be an overly optimistic individual, but I believe you need to see the light to come out of the darkness. Take these opportunities amid this crisis to rethink, reconfigure, realign, and rebuild a better, resilient, sustainable, and equitable future. This forum has provided more than 1,000 people to participate, and I hope that this 5-day conference will help stimulate our thinking, stir new ideas, reignite the passion and motivation to maximize the positive action and impact on our stakeholders. It should be able to refuel the momentum of our passion, of the social value movement, of changing the way we account for value. Because the choices we make today are going to help define the future for ourselves and generations to come. To not worry if you're just a bunch of 1,000 people in the world of 7 billion, because it takes only a drop to create ripples. May the force be with you. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed today's session at Social Value Matters 2020. Once again, if you do have any questions for the speakers on today's session, please do ask the questions below in the box and the speakers will get back to you as soon as they possibly can. On behalf of everybody at Social Value International and Social Value Canada, I just want to thank all of the speakers for the incredible sessions that they've done today and all of you for attending. We hope that you find the rest of this week's conference as interesting as you found today, and it will see you soon at another one of the events.